4, 3, 2. Brilliant.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming. This afternoon, we're here to announce that the government of Barbados, in our efforts to help the people of the Bahamas, we will be having a telethon this weekend on Sunday, starting at 3 o'clock until 10 o'clock Sunday evening. This telethon is to assist by getting contributions to help in the relief efforts for the people of the Bahamas. As most people would be aware, the Bahamas being in the Western Caribbean, logistically, it is very difficult in order for us to send supplies as we would normally do in these types of disasters when they occur in the Eastern Caribbean. So, in order to continue to assist our Caribbean brothers and sisters, and the Bahamas being one, we've decided to do this telethon, and we're encouraging all Barbadians, both here and abroad in the diaspora, to contribute to this also worthy cause. This telethon will be done in conjunction with all of the media houses, all the media houses in Barbados, the Barbados Advocate, the Nation newspaper, as well as the stations of the CARICOM network, of course CBC, as well as CETA and NBG Radio, the Caribbean Media Corporation, UE Television, UE TV, Capital FM, Loop News, Slam, and of course the Caribbean Media Corporation. Now, the telethon will be broadcast live on television and live on radio stations. We will get back and let you know which radio stations will be used. I don't have a confirmed as to which stations, because as you know, some media houses have more than one station. Starcom, for example, has 4, and CBC has 3. And there are others that have multiple stations. But certainly we will inform the public so they'll be able to tune in to see which stations we're using. We're also streaming it, and so the streams will be available on all of the media houses' platforms where they normally stream from. And we're also offering the stream to other individuals in Barbados. So that way we're able to reach just about anyone, regardless of whether they're here locally or if they are abroad. In order to facilitate as well, we also have had set up an account created by SEDIMA, and this is called the SEDIMA Barbados Bahamas Relief Fund. Let me say it again, the SEDIMA Barbados Bahamas Relief Fund, and the account number is 10011-86684. That is 10011-86684. So this fund has been created in order for us to have a vehicle in which people can make their contributions if they want to make the contributions in that manner. And so clearly this allows for us to know that the money is then going to the people of the Bahamas in order to assist in this relief effort. Under this same theme, because this theme of this event, Rise Again Bahamas, we're also trying to make it easier as well for people to also make their pledges. So on the day of the telethon, you can actually come to CBC itself and be part of the studio audience that's there. Everyone is welcome to come for whatever time they can come to make their pledge. You can come make your pledge in person. You can come and be a part of the process, which, as I said earlier, is between 3 and 10 o'clock. You can also make your pledge. We're using ticket links. I will get back to you further just how you can pay on ticket links, but you can do it through that vehicle as well, where you can use your debit and or credit cards in order to make those contributions. So that can be done through the ticket links platform. And you can also make your pledge ahead of time by contacting us at CBC on the day and make your pledge over the phone. There'll be several phone lines that will be open and available, and you can call on those phone lines and make your pledge, and that way you'll be a part of this whole also worthy cause. Now, in terms of, and I should have said this earlier, but in terms of the ticket links methodology of payment, that platform will be open for 24 hours. So that will be open not just between the hours of 3 and 10, but it'll be open right through to the next day. So for 24 hours, you will still be able to use that in order to make a contribution to the people of the Bahamas. Now, I have here with me today several people who are assisting with this endeavor. All the media are here, and once again, I really want to thank the media of Barbados for coming forward and assisting us in this effort. I really cannot say how pleased I am. Every single media house, regardless of whether they're broadcasts, newspapers, social media, where they have extensive platforms, they are all here and they've all committed. And I just think this is ever so wonderful that the media can come together like this for such a worthy cause. But we do have some others here. I have beside me Ambassador David Commichon. Ambassador Commichon is the CARICOM ambassador, and he is one of the coordinators of this event, and he's here with me. I also have to Ambassador Commichon's right, Andrea Grosvenor from SEDIMA. So Mrs. Grosvenor from SEDIMA is here with us as well. I also have to my left Major Darrell Wilkinson from Barbados Christian Council, and to his left I have the Reverend Dr. Nigel Taylor, who I think is very familiar to many Barbadians, and from the Evangelical Association. And to his left is Miss Diane Ford from the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation, who will be carrying this live on Channel 8. As well as at least one of their radio stations. I would like to now turn over. Oh, before I do that, I just would like to say Prime Minister Motley, I'm sure many of people are aware, is actually in the Bahamas right now. She's down there with a CARICOM delegation who have all gone down to assist our CARICOM brother and our CARICOM sister island of the Bahamas. And so they are there because, as you know, whenever any of us in the Caribbean are faced with these types of tragedies, all the CARICOM nations come together and have an effort to try to assist where we can. But having said that, I would like to now turn over to Ambassador Commichon. So Ambassador Commichon will be able to give you some comments with regard to this event.
Thank you, Minister. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Well, this is a project of the government of Barbados, but it is also very much a demonstration of CARICOM in action and CARICOM working. As Minister Moore said, right now Prime Minister Motley is in the Bahamas, along with Ambassador Erwin LaRocque, the Secretary General of CARICOM, and Mr. Jackson, the Executive Director of SEDIMA, the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency. And you know, we should be proud of the fact that we have an organization like SEDIMA, our own organization, our CARICOM institution set up by us, with all of our member states being members of SEDIMA. Our Barbados disaster emergency management agency, being a member agency of CDEMA. So when we say we have set up this CDEMA fund, it's our fund as well, because we are CDEMA. We are an integral part of CDEMA. But we all know of the tremendous work that CDEMA has done as recently as 2017, when our region was hit with the devastating hurricanes Irma and Maria. But I'll leave that for Ms. Grosvenor to really speak about. My message to you this afternoon really is to send out a call to all Barbadians. We must support our fellow CARICOM member state of the Bahamas. 2 years ago, it was Dominica and Antigua and Barbuda. Now it is the Bahamas. Next month, it could be somebody else. Perish the thought, some year or some month, it may very well be Barbados. Who knows? But the point is, we must develop a way of thinking in the Caribbean where something touches one, it touches all. Damage is done to one, we're not going to leave any one country alone to have to face an emergency simply on its own resources, to having to rebuild simply by itself. No, our mindset must be that we recognize our brothers and sisters. We will be our brothers and sisters keepers, and we will come to each other's assistance. So this is what Sunday's telethon is really all about. We know that Barbados has been going through a very difficult economic experience. We know that things are difficult for many Barbadians, but we have to acknowledge that right now, today, we are so much more fortunate than the people of the islands of Abaco and Grand Bahama in the Bahamas. They are now grappling with, in some cases, a total destruction of their homes, of everything they have worked their entire lives to acquire. Some are grappling with loss of life, loss of relatives. Many of them are probably at their wits' end as to know what is next for them. So, as difficult as economic conditions might be for some of us in Barbados, the fact is, right now, we are much better off than our Bahamian brothers and sisters. So, whatever we can give, whatever we have that we can share, we want the message to go out. This telethon is for everybody. Don't think that your donation will be too small to count. No, every donation counts. Whatever you can give to the people of the Bahamas, whatever you can share with these brothers and sisters in so much distress, is very much appreciated. So we are asking everybody to tune in to the telethon. Come into CBC. There will be personnel there, cashiers there, that we can take your cash donation right at the CBC premises. So you're free to come in and make that donation in person. You're free to call in and pledge the donation. You're free to make that donation by credit card, online, or to come into the CBC offices and do the credit card transaction right there. And so we are going to have a telethon in which we are going to have people with inspirational messages. We're going to have messages from some of our Caribbean prime ministers, particularly prime ministers of Caribbean countries that have experienced this kind of disaster in recent times. You're going to hear from some of our religious leaders. You're going to hear both appeals and inspirational performances from a number of our outstanding performing artists, including some of the cultural ambassadors of Barbados. And so we are going to connect live with folk in the Bahamas. Right now, the team that is with Prime Minister Motley, that team is going to be bringing back video footage of what is actually happening in the Bahamas on the ground right now. They're going to be doing interviews with relevant people in the Bahamas. So all of that is going to be shared on Sunday in the Telethon. So we want to make this really an exercise of the Caribbean family coming together, looking out for each other, and caring for each other. And I think I've said enough, so I think I'll stop there. Thank you very much. You want me to send it on to her? Or should I? Yeah, we leave it as. Okay, so I think what the minister is saying, that I should pass on
Or just slide it down.
the microphones to Ms. Grosvenor,
have a few words?
the representative of Sedema. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So you can let
Yeah. Get you there. Good.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
It's close enough.
I think it's okay. Yeah, I think it should be fine.
Senator Lucille Moore and Ambassador David Commission and distinguished persons who have joined in at this head table. Good afternoon, everyone, and to you, the media. Once again, I want to echo the thanks of the Senator for being a part of this process. I want to commend the government of Barbados as a good CARICOM neighbor for spearheading this telethon to support the government and the people of the Bahamas. Many of you would have probably been inundated either through the television or through social media with many of the sights and the sounds of Hurricane Dorian. I just want to share with you some of the information that we know about the impact of Hurricane Dorian on the Bahamas and the implications for the support in this teleconference, and for the support in this telethon. As you will be aware, Hurricane Dorian was a Category 5 hurricane with winds of 185 miles per hour. Category 5 starts at 157 miles per hour. So Hurricane Dorian was a Category 5 hurricane with 185 miles per hour. Gusts went up to 225 miles per hour. So this is catastrophic wind impact. We had rainfall going as much as 20 inches or more, and storm surge that went from 20 to 24 feet on very low lying islands. Some of those islands had about 30 feet in height in some spaces. So this was significant. Not only that, this hurricane stood over Bahamas for almost 68 hours, and the southern eye wall pounded Grand Bahama in particular for about 30 hours. This was a significant impact. The devastation is reported to be unprecedented and extensive. But we also know that there are some rays of hope, and we will get to explore that a little bit on Sunday. The government of the Bahamas has already identified a preliminary needs list. As Senator Moore would have indicated, logistically, there is a challenge to get some of those things into the Bahamas. So cash donations is preferred. For Sedema, we would have undertaken a number of actions to support the government and the people of the Bahamas through the support of the government of Barbados and other CARICOM neighbors. We would have convened a daily meeting of the Caribbean Development Partners Group, which we co-chair along with many United Nations agencies and CARICOM entities. We would have sent in the Rapid Needs Assessment team, who immediately after the all clear have already been deployed in the field. So the all clear was given yesterday morning, and they were immediately on a flight into Abaco and Grand Bahama that they could at least get a flyover. And they would have returned today because in some cases the airport was inundated and they could not land. And so they have been able to give a preliminary assessment that confirms the extensive damage. We know that 20 persons have already died. The Prime Minister of Bahamas has said he expects that death toll to rise, and there are 17 persons that have been confirmed with injuries. I want to say that the regional response mechanism, as Ambassador Commission indicated, managed by SEDEMA, coordinated by SEDEMA, works. It worked for Irma and Maria. And there was no one in the international community that could have gotten to Dominica from Maria quicker than the region. We got there first. We were unable to give the sustained support because we are not as well resourced as many international actors. But the people of the region within their means did quite a bit. And so therefore the assistance that will be provided through the telethon would allow the region to support Bahamas in this way. I want to say that SEDEMA also has a number of teams that are on alert and standby that can further support the Bahamas, such as the CARICOM Disaster Assessment and Coordination Team. There's a search and rescue team also on standby, the CARICOM Operational Support Team. There is also the CARICOM Disaster Relief Unit, and there's also our multinational military coordination cell. Finally, I want to say to you that Bahamas, like Barbados, is considered a high middle income country. It does mean that options that they have for recovery financing will be constrained because they are not considered as ODA eligible. And so this is something that we would have to think about in how we as a Caribbean neighbor can support a country that is considered the same category of us in this context. I will give you the number once again. The bank is First Caribbean International Bank. The SEDEMA Barbados Bahamas Relief Fund, 100-118-6684. Thank you very much.
One question. Who you said that is Bahamas is ODA? What is that?
Overseas Development Assistance.
Not eligible for.
Not eligible for overseas development assistance.
I will now pass on now to
Major Wilkinson?
Thank you very much, Minister Moore, Ambassador Commercial, my friends. The Barbados Christian Council is indeed saddened at the devastation caused by Hurricane Dorian on our brothers and sisters in the Bahamas. And we've taken careful note of the destruction of the homes and properties, particularly in Abaco and Grand Bahama. Also displacement of persons, families, disruption of commerce, economic activities, and nation development. However, we sense the kindness and care, concern, compassion, and at the same time heartbreak of Barbadians at the devastation which Hurricane Dorian has caused our brothers and sisters. And also sense that willingness and eagerness to give support through prayer and other means. We want to say thanks to the people of Barbados. At our meeting yesterday of the Barbados Christian Council, it was agreed that though the immediate need for those affected in those islands may be food, medical attention, and water. As you've heard before, logistics does not permit that. But we believe that we can give assistance in other ways. And we want to suggest to you an act of the people of Barbados, residents, friends, to join with this national response appeal and give a financial contribution to this relief effort for the Bahamas, our friends, our brothers, and our sisters. It could have been us, but it's not us. I don't believe that we have been spared at this time, maybe to share, to have this responsibility to provide for our brothers and sisters in the Bahamas. I also want to request that we continue to engage in prayer for our brothers and sisters. Think in terms of the trauma resulting from the loss of loved ones, possible despair, confusion, hopelessness, and the possible anger which may have overwhelmed them, having lost their homes, properties, and normalcy of life. We should pray also for the government as they grapple with this devastating disaster, which has caused not only displacement, affecting the physical landscape, but as I said before, commerce, the economy, and the development of the nation. We should also pray for the safety and success of the responders as they endanger their lives to search for, to rescue, and to bring relief to those affected in what is considered dangerous conditions. We also requesting that this weekend, that all churches in a place of worship, and whether we worship on Sunday, Monday, Friday, or Saturday, that we engage a part of our worship in prayer for our brothers and sisters in the Bahamas. We believe that many have already prayed and are praying even now, but there can never be too much prayer. We also ask you to encourage your friends and to join you in prayer for our fellow brothers and sisters in the Bahamas. But also we must not forget to give God thanks for ourselves, because we too have been spared, from such a disaster. I want to say thank you for your support, and we read the Barbados Christian Council endorse this national response. God bless you.
I'm going to pass on down to Dr. Major Taylor.
Thank you very much, Minister. I do not think anyone viewing the happenings over the last days can, without doubt, feel the hurt, the pain, the sensitivity, and even the challenge of which the Bahamians have faced. All during the storms, I would have been having reports from some of my own people that were down there, and the pain that they would have been going through, and the sadness that they would have been experiencing. And to date, I am extremely happy to state that the executive of the Barbados Evangelical Association, and by and large, over the 52 member bodies, even prior to this meeting, have undertaken the commitment to raise funds to support this initiative. So I am extremely happy that the government of Barbados would have been leading this factor, leading this initiative with SEDIMA. And we pledge our full support. Even before members of the member bodies of the Barbados Evangelical Association have been repeatedly calling to find where and how and when they can make these contributions, these donations. You see, one of the things that we must be conscious of, and it has nothing to do with my turn now and their turn next and all of that. We have to be very conscious of being the compassionate and benevolent element, and the fact that we are our brother's keeper. And for that, we encourage members right through the religious denominations and right through the country to be aggressively involved in raising the funds that will be so needed to assist our brothers and sisters in the Bahamas. Without doubt, it is heart-wrenching. Without doubt, the pain can be seen etched on the many faces that we would have seen over the past days. And even the pain etched on the faces that we would have seen here from those who have families in the Bahamas. And my concern is, and my support is, and my contention will always be that the largest constituency in Barbados, which is the faith base, which is the church, which is the faith base in essence, should be integrally involved in whatever response that the government initiates. And for this, I pledge wholeheartedly the support of the Barbados Evangelical Association. This is something that we cannot but rise to the occasion. We must stand in the gap, and we must show not only by words, but show by our presence, our monies, the fact that it is a care element. And if we follow the scriptures as we tend to do, we will acknowledge that this is our time to show full support for our brothers. And for that, we commit ourselves. And I'm hoping that everyone will join and be present at the telethon and make substantial donations. Certainly within the Barbados Evangelical Association, correspondence would have been sent and will continue to be sent, encouraging them now not only to be part of the telethon, but also to raise funding within their local assemblies, funding in whatever department they can, and make the necessary deposits to the account that you would have heard being mentioned throughout the whole session. And I think when that is initiated, I am certain that the response would be a fantastic one. And for that, I thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Taylor. I will now pass down to Ms. Diane Fort from CBC. So she'll give us a little bit of the logistics of what will happen at CBC on the day, as well as other events.
Good afternoon, everyone. You have heard quite a bit about what we all witnessed, whether via social media or traditional media. And therefore, this type of event, a telethon, or as we are affectionately calling it among ourselves, a mediathon, because it engages all aspects of the media, would normally take a longer time to actually plan and produce. But once we were asked to rise to the occasion, I think all of the media really has stepped forward, recognizing the critical importance of being able to lend assistance to Bahamas immediately. So in 72 hours, we intend to pull together this telethon event. It starts at 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, and it will continue, 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, and it will continue till about 10. However, if the going is good, we'll go a little bit longer if that is what is required of us. We are happy to have the media all come together and in different aspects, because we have the short window in which to also share this message with all of Barbados and the world via social media. So we have had that support from Barbados Today, Starcom Network, and all of the media houses, finding different ways in which they can lend that critical assistance and that tangible assistance that is needed right now to pull this together. One of the things that we also will need is the support of the entertainment, sports fraternity, the social media influencers who can lend their voices to encouraging people to give support, to give generously. And remember that there's no donation that is too small, because one-on-one still makes two, the way we see it. So we also want performers to come forward as well, because we need to engage our audiences wherever they're watching us. So it is important to have that support. So we are making an appeal to the artists of Barbados, the sports heroes of Barbados, those social media influencers who are popular among the millennials especially, to come forward, call us up. 467-5400 is a number for CBC. You can email me, dfort@cbc.bb, but you find us. I have to acknowledge Ticket Links and Tech Base, who are working to ensure that people can make those donations as well, using that particular source, so that wherever you are in the world, whether you're Bajan or otherwise, and you want to make a contribution, you can do that via Ticket Links. And they're also going to be working on a website. I believe the name that we're working with is riseagainbahamas.com. So it makes it easy, one place to go. But we will have those full details shared with everybody as soon as everything is finalized. As you can appreciate, this is a work in progress, and we are working around the clock to pull it all together. So we too want to lend our voice in saying to Barbados, this is our time to give. We always do. This is not the first time the media has worked together on similar projects, and sad to say, it may not be the last. But it's good to have us work together, putting aside our competitive differences for what is really a very good cause. So we urge you to give generously, tune into us. There's so many different ways in which you can find whoever you listen to, whoever you watch. We intend to have all three of our radio stations engaged, Q100.7 FM, 94.7 and 98.1 The One, so that we reach as many people as we can. I know that Starcom has committed. I think they said 3 of their 4 radio stations they're going to commit, and the others will let us know how they plan to be a part of this effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, once again, I just would like to thank all of my colleagues here with me today. Certainly Miss Fort, Diane Fort from CBC, where the actual telethon will be taking place physically. Of course, Dr. Nigel Taylor from the Barbados Ecumenical Association and Evangelical Association, and Major Wilkinson from the Barbados Christian Council, Ambassador Commission, the CARICOM ambassador, and Mrs. Andrea Grosvenor, who is the Planning and Business Development Manager for SEDIMA. I will also like to thank all of the media in Barbados, who have all committed and who have all already started to assist in this endeavor. As one would appreciate, this is a very short space of time in which we're trying to get all of these things accomplished. As I just want to reinforce something that was said earlier by Ambassador Commission, where he said that any amount is not too small. Any amount at all would assist. One has to remember that the Bahamas is 2,000 kilometers, over 2,000 kilometers away from Barbados. The logistics of trying to send supplies or move items from here to Bahamas is quite difficult, and would not be what one would want to embark on at this stage. And the government of Bahamas, they have already indicated, because they have a list of what they need, as Ambassador Commission and SEDIMA together explained, they have a needs list. And so they know what is needed. And so at this stage, oftentimes in these disasters, everyone wants to assist and wants to contribute. And sometimes we just contribute what we can, but it may not necessarily what is needed. But with the needs list, certainly, and the logistics of distance, the telethon, or as Ms. Ford has said, the mediathon, is the way to go, where we're able to then get cash contributions that then can be used in order to get the items that is needed by the people of the Bahamas in this absolutely horrific circumstance. I also would like to say to the people of Barbados that this Hurricane Dorian came through Barbados as a tropical storm, and we as a government, through the leadership of Prime Minister Motley, took many decisions in order to ensure that we protected the people of Barbados. Now, we were very fortunate that we did not have any real catastrophic situations here. But that is not to say that one does not take preparations. Now, being the Minister of Information, Broadcast and Public Affairs, I do follow what transpires through the media as the comments that people make and things people say. And I want to encourage Barbadians to think about themselves and their families and their country, and recognize that oftentimes we have to take necessary precautions even if they are inconvenient. Inconvenience should never, ever not play a part in decisions that one makes when persons' lives may be at stake, their homes, their children, and their ability to continue their lives in as normal a way as possible. And so I just want to say to those who sometimes think, well, oh, why did we have to close this, or why did people go to shelters, or why do we go and get supplies? One has to prepare. And preparation oftentimes, sometimes we do, and it's not, we don't have a storm. But no one wants to have a catastrophic event. And we once again can only thank God that once again Barbados did not have something like that. And so the government will always continue to prepare themselves and prepare this country in instances such as these. I also would like to say, for those who may not have heard earlier, that Prime Minister Motley is in the Bahamas with a CARICOM team. Prime Minister Motley, whose idea, I can say this was, for this telethon, once we recognize some of the logistic difficulties. I know it's a very short space of time that we're asking people to commit and to participate, but Prime Minister Motley did say as well to me that she thought that Sunday is a day, and as was articulated by Dr. Taylor, Barbados still is a very religious society, and so most of us do go to some type of religious endeavor on a Sunday, whether you're Christian or Muslim or whatever denomination you may be. And so we would like each of the religious organizations to perhaps take up a special collection on Sunday in aid of the people of the Bahamas. A special collection on Sunday to aid the people of the Bahamas in this oh so horrific situation. And so if that, I know I have both gentlemen here who are well able to also speak to each of these entities later, but I will still make the appeal on a national level to all of the religious groups when they meet, whether it is on Saturday or on Sunday, that they remember our brothers and sisters, and on Friday, as Ambassador Commissioner just reminded me. So whether you're meeting on Friday, or which is tomorrow, or on Saturday, or on Sunday, to have a special collection on the behalf of the people of the Bahamas to assist in this tragedy. And with that, I just would like to... Oh, are there any questions? No. I will have Sadim identify the items, but we don't want people to purchase the items. We do not want people to try to send the items. Logistically, it is too difficult to get the routing to try to get things to the Bahamas is not what is ideal. But we will give you an idea of some of the things that the government of the Bahamas is looking for. But we don't want people to rush out now and go and purchase them.
Sorry, we want to get the items. Yeah. Because some of the items are so big that you couldn't.
Okay.
Tell me about the tents and the coats and the reverse osmosis plants. Okay, I'll put that in a box, in a barrel and send it.
So the government of the Bahamas, through the Ministry of the Foreign Affairs, the government of the Bahamas, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, has issued a news list There is also a needs list that has emerged from the government of Bahamas through the National Emergency Management Agency, and SEDEMA has put together that needs list. So there's obviously a need for shelter, such as, and there are things here like tents, plastic sheeting, etc. There is a big need for water and health and sanitation items. I can say to you that the water need is quite a big need, simply because these islands are very shallow islands, and they would have their salt water intrusion into many of the wells. So there is a need for water supply, and so some things like pumps, a reverse osmosis plant, those are things that you can't go out and buy. These are things that are definitely needed. They need cash purchases for these. Having 5,000 gallons plastic storage pumps, and also generators, etc., to be able to provide that water. There's a number of non-perishable food items that have been identified here, along with equipment for clearing, such as chainsaws and other debris removal tools, such as shovels, rakes, etc. And this really underscores the need for having the cash donations, because to buy something here and to get it all the way to the Bahamas is about 3 or 4 times the cost. So it's really more prudent. And also things like flashlights, blankets, and portable radios, batteries, portable potties, because people obviously would need to relieve themselves, etc. So these are things that some of them may be available, but to actually get them to the Bahamas will be quite a logistical challenge. I will also want to say to you, particularly in the food, we have received from the government of Bahamas that they have 2 weeks of supply of food that can be supplied to the affected islands of Grand Bahama and Abaco Islands. And you can well imagine, therefore, that they can be able to resupply. And I think, therefore, that within that context, you understand that there are some things that we can support, and those cash donations will help us to be able to put the funds towards the areas that are most needed for the people of the Bahamas. Thank you.
I just had one question. I know that some entities have already mobilized and started calling for donations. What would you tell them? I spoke with somebody this morning. They said they already have a large donation of water. What would you tell them?
Now, I think SEDEMA has really articulated the challenge. Now, the Bahamas is very close to the United States, and logistically to bring something from the States to the Bahamas is very cheaper. It's simple, it's very close and cheap. To move something like water from Barbados to the Bahamas, what you're moving there, you could probably purchased maybe 20 or 30 times the amount just by getting it from the United States. Furthermore, the Bahamas is well over 100 plus islands. 700? 700 islands. All the islands of the Bahamas are not affected. So the Bahamas, as was just explained earlier by SEDEMA, they are classified certainly in terms of their ability to assist themselves in some ways, because they will have food on some of these other islands that they're able to supply back to the affected islands of Abaco and Grand Bahama. So I can't really answer what to do with water at this stage to try to get it from here to the Bahamas. I mean, if as I said in my opening comments, were this the Eastern Caribbean, where we all are chained and within a couple hundred miles of each other, that would be different. But you're talking about over 2,000 kilometers, and the shipping routes between the Bahamas are not what they would be in the Eastern Caribbean.
Could I just add something, not concerning water, but people and organizations that might have taken up cash collections already. You could not find a better fund to donate cash donations to than the SEDEMA Barbados Bahamas Fund, because we know that virtually every cent that goes into that fund is going to go directly to people on the ground in the Bahamas. That is unlike several other funds that quite often when emergency happens, sometimes all kinds of funds emerge. And even some of the traditional funds, what you find is a tremendous percentage of what is donated does not go to people on the ground, goes to all kinds of administrative costs. That is not the case with SEDIMA. As we said, whatever you donate is going to go directly to the people on the ground in the Bahamas. So we would want to encourage everybody, if this special SEDIMA fund, and this is why this fund was set up even separate from SEDIMA's normal funding or accounts. This is a special fund exclusively for relief work in the Bahamas. So we would just like to encourage everybody, if you wanted to find a fund to donate to, this is that fund. Yeah.
So perhaps, So perhaps then those places that have already marketed their place, maybe they might want to switch.
Well, I think Ambassador Commission has articulated very well. I mean, they've already collected money. I would suggest that they put it to this fund where you know it's going directly to assist the people in the Bahamas, as opposed to perhaps just giving it to an entity. And I'm not in any way saying anything negative about any other entities, but just that in this particular circumstance, we are trying to help the people of the Bahamas. And so the reason for, as Ambassador Commission just said, this will go straight to the assistance of the people of the Bahamas and not for administrative costs or any other costs besides what it's intended for. And so I would suggest, and I will give the account number again and the bank, so, and they can contact us here or at CBC or any of the other media houses, because they're all on board, as well as SEDIMA or the Ambassador Commission as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in order to be able to transfer whatever monies they have to this fund. It is the First Caribbean Bank, and the account number is 10011866684. Any branch of the First Caribbean Bank, they can do that there. I just want to say that we do recognize that we have Bahamians that do live in Barbados, including students who would have just returned to UWI to come to school. There are quite a few Bahamian students here, and our hearts do go out to them as well as the people of the Bahamas, because it must be very difficult for some of them to be here when something like this is occurring in their country. So our hearts do go out to them. Any other questions?
Articles going around saying that the Bahamas is open for business, whereas we know the most populated islands are the ones that were affected. Can SEDIMA talk to this, because it's kind of running two messages in the eyes of some people? So can you speak to this?
Okay, sure. I will. Thank you very much for the question. So most of the population of the Bahamas is actually on one of the smallest islands, New Providence. That's where the capital Nassau is. And that population size is almost the same population size as Barbados on New Providence. So New Providence was affected by some tropical storm force winds, had a little bit of flooding. So they have not been impacted in a very significant way. So it is correct to say that most of the 700 islands and keys is open for business. If you think about Bahamas, it's a very long island chain. It is almost from, if you are familiar with geography, from probably about Puerto Rico going right down to maybe the Grenadines or so. It's a very long island chain. So the system stayed well east of the southern and the eastern Bahamian islands. If there are any impacts, it may be more on maybe the coast or something like that, but not in that significant way. That being said, those two islands that would have been impacted, about 76,000, is probably in keeping with the populations that would have been affected maybe on a Dominica, for instance, that we're seeking to support. You see, it is very important to send this message as being open for business, because many of you may recall in 2004, we had Hurricane Ivan impacting the Cayman Islands. And that there had to be that message because of the geography also of the Cayman Islands, that whilst you had Grand Cayman that was impacted by Hurricane Ivan, Little Cayman was still open for business. Why? These are and Cayman Brac, because these are tourism dependent economies. So the messaging that is being given by Bahamas at this time is that Bahamas is open for business, but these two impacted islands, significantly impacted, mind you, are the islands in which the response and the recovery is being undertaken, so that the entire island chain is not painted with a broad brush.
And just to emphasize, that's 76,000 people have been impacted on the islands of Abaco
and Grand Bahama.
So it's a significant number of people, 76,000.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, so if not, I would just like once again to thank the press. Thank you once again, and to thank all Barbadians who I know will come forward and help us in this oh so worthy endeavor. Thank you.